In the studio with us right now is our friend KP Burke, who is a comedian, who is also now an author. And Ian Beckles is here because we got to talk football here in a little bit. We got a lot going on. KP, first of all, thank you for your service as a Navy veteran stationed out in what, Jacksonville?
Jacksonville, Florida.
How long were you there?
6 years, sir. 6 years.
What made you decide to join the Navy?
Coast Guard said no because I broke my ankle once.
Really?
Yeah, that was the truth.
Well, so you, Coast Guard should be taking everybody.
No, it's the opposite. They don't need people. It's such a good job. Nobody leaves.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you went to the Coast Guard. Why the water? Like, I'm trying to think, like, I almost joined the Navy because my dad was in the Navy, and Danielle Mazzola broke up with me when I was in my, and it happened to be on a day that a Navy recruiter was in my high school, and I was like, I'm just going to go to the Navy.
They know. They know when you're weak right now.
Yep.
So I got told no for the Coast Guard. I figured if you join one of the water branches, then they got to put you near a beach, and I kind of grew up down the Jersey Shore.
Okay, so you were thinking that. I got you.
And then otherwise you join the Army, you're like, I want to do something cool and, jump out of planes or something. They're like, yeah, I enjoy Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah. Now, I will tell you that my nephew Tommy was in the Navy, and it was the first time I ever actually paid attention to. I don't think anything in my body would prepare me for, certainly to be in the military, but for those first 2 weeks of being away from home and all. So Tommy went, and the interest in that, I started watching videos online and all that of what they do. So they take him. I think he went to Illinois, maybe he went somewhere.
Great Lakes, probably.
And then, so the minute he gets out the boat, they have to turn in all their stuff, their cell phone, their everything that they had. They turn over to the Navy, and then they go into this room, and they start immediately running drills and walking in lines and doing all these weird things. And then they go to sleep, and they wake them up in the middle of the night. And I would have been like, I'm done. Yeah. I'm done with this. I did not know what I was signing up for. Did you love it from the minute you went in, or were you like, I want to do this, or were you like, I wish I didn't do it?
I was ready for it. I knew I was going to go in. It was a matter of which branch I was going to wind up in. But the best thing that happened to me when you walk off that bus, and you arrive at Great Lakes, in my mind, in my memory, he's 10 feet tall, Jamaican guy, comes up to me and just starts screaming in my face and goes, "Put your brain on vacation. You're not going to need it for 8 weeks." Oh. And I was like, okay, that's good advice. And I tuned out. And then boom, just have to have that long stare. You got to just stare ahead like you're like the I Like Turtles kid from the videos and just get through it. And then slowly, once they start to figure you out, then they're like, all right, you got a little bit more of a brain. You're not here because a judge sent you here.
Right.
You're not here because you had no. So
you're not a loser.
Yeah,
your girlfriend didn't break up with you.
Yeah, man, that really kills.
They do spot weakness as well as strength. That's the problem. They're very good at it.
What did they? What about you? How did they assess you? Were you like? Did you feel like they were treating you better, or they treat everybody like garbage?
They figured out I had a little bit of a brain on me,
right?
And that I wasn't there because it was my last option. So all of a sudden you're in like a leadership position, and then you get to sleep through the night. Then they don't wake you up at night.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you're in a leadership, I had the best position. And it was. And by the way, my favorite thing is this: all 3 of my drill instructors have come and seen me do stand up.
Oh, no kidding.
So that's
cool.
My favorite cool little thing that's happened for me because. They'd let me crack a joke every now and then, and they'd be like, all right, shut up, Burke.
Yeah. Anybody code red you?
Code red? No, we didn't have to. Thank God. No code red.
No code red?
There was a kid who tried to get a Mountain Dew code red into, he snuck one in with him. That's about it.
Really? I can't imagine. I just can't imagine not having those just everyday things that you don't, for no matter how, for 8 weeks, 2 weeks, it's just no TV, no nothing, no phones.
Well, here's the worst part. We were supposed to. They said we could watch the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a huge Giants fan. I'm from New Jersey. And it was the Giants-Patriots first one, the undefeated season.
Right.
And I had seen every game, and I was so excited. I was like, we're going to get to watch that. And some kid, and I remember his name, and I won't say it on air because I'm still angry with him.
Right.
He tried smuggling Skittles in. When you go to the commissary, they're like, you can buy a toothbrush, and you can buy a shaving kit, and that's it. And this kid's like, I'm going to buy Skittles. And they checked everybody's receipts on the way out. And they goes, oh, so it looks like so-and-so thought he could buy Skittles. Say goodbye to the Super Bowl.
Oh.
And
did his nickname become Skittles, and did you guys beat him to death?
We wanted to. This kid had a level of arrogance to him that I can never forget. And then, and he also, and this was another great one too. The other kid who got kicked out of our unit, our boot camp unit, didn't make it through. They sent him home. His name was Altabelli. I'll never forget it. And he literally would tell us, they were like, oh, they're not going to kick me out. My dad's mayor. He said, my dad's mayor. He never told us of what town, but they sent him back to New York because he bummed out, if you will.
Wow.
Yeah, there was some characters, some really great guys too. but it was mostly great people, and then I had a great time. They all sent us off to. I was supposed to go to Guam originally.
Right.
That's where they're going to send me to Guam. And I'm sitting there, I was like, what do you do in Guam? And I talked to my cousin who was there. He goes, you do steroids and you go hang out at strip clubs.
I think I'd like Guam for like 6 months.
Yeah, and he goes, it gets boring after a while.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot like Jersey.
Oh, it's there. It's, less Italians.
That's pretty true. You can
steroids and hang out at strip clubs.
It was really very much a Jersey Shore vibe there from what I heard. And then they changed it last minute. They had an error in my paperwork, and I wound up in Jacksonville for all 6 years.
Oh, wow.
So I was there for Tebow Mania. I wound up doing comedy in the places Limp Bizkit used to play.
Oh, really?
Jacksonville's a weird town.
Yeah, it really is. We were on in Jacksonville for a little while. And we went out there, and you just don't. I don't know. It is definitely different.
The best joke I've ever heard, my buddy Herman Nasworth has this joke. He says, Jacksonville isn't real. It's 5 small towns holding hands so that they can keep a football team.
That sounds about right.
Exactly what Jacksonville
sounds about right. This is KP Burke who's with us now. KP, I did first meet KP through Bobby. You were doing stand-up here with Bobby.
Yes, sir.
And then KP has a podcast that you were doing with your dad where you would expose the worst people in history.
Yeah, it was called American Loser, and you were very helpful early on with that, too.
It was interesting because people were doing podcasts for no reason. And, I get it. It's fun. I do a podcast with my wife, and we have no point of the podcast, but it's just fun to do sometimes and talk, and people find other people interesting. But you came at it with an idea and coming from you had yourself a plan when you were doing it.
Well, I always liked history. And my insecurity is I have to give something in order to get something back.
Okay.
So we're selling, obviously, we moved on to other things, but I've seen so many comics that are going to sell like a wristband or something, or whatever. They're going, here's a sticker with my Instagram handle on it. That'll be $5.
Yeah.
That's gross.
But I feel the same way. We sell, we have an online store, but we push it. We never push it. I don't care. The only time we ever push a t-shirt or something is if I'm giving the money to charity. Trust me, I like money and I like it coming in, but I don't like to ask the audience to give up. I'll ask you when there's a hurricane and we have to help the people of Tampa. I'm not asking you to go buy a shirt that I can make $6 on. You know what I mean? It's just
100%.
Yeah, I get it. Like there's time to do it and there's time not to do it. And I've seen some of these comics that have that, like their Instagram handle or a T-shirt with their saying on a bazooka, or one of their joke punchlines. That's crazy.
It's well, I'll tell you what it is. I get it because the comics, when you're first starting out, you need gas money.
Yeah, no, I get it. You need the money,
but at the same time, you're like, dude, just hold yourself. Bobby has a great. So Bobby helped me with that so much.
Yeah.
But if you want a master class in comedy, by the way, be on the road with Bobby Kelly for 3 years, like I was. You will learn the hardest you've ever made.
It was worse than boot camp.
He's brutal. He's abusive to you. He wore out when he was still fat. He wore out the rear shocks on my Kia Soul. But. No, he is the master class of comedy because whatever you think you just did on stage, you're going to hear the room get 2 decibels louder when he's done.
It's unbelievable.
He's the best live comic I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, he's great. Okay, so tell me about the book. What did you do with the book?
So here's how lazy I am, Mike. I had a book idea for years, and then I was trying to write it. I was like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, so I turned it into a podcast called American Loser. Did it with my dad for 4 years. And then we started doing 90-second clips with Gas Digital, Luis Gomez's studio. Started doing 90-second clips on there, and it took off on Instagram. And
this is where now we have a guy. I don't know. You might have seen him. He does something similar where you do not the same topics, but Cody Tucker. Have you ever seen Cody Tucker? If you've come across his picture, you might be like, oh, I recognize that guy. He takes interesting things like you do with history. He does some history, he does some Hollywood, and he breaks them down into clips. And that's what people are ingesting the most is these short clips. But they do make you sometimes want to find out more.
It's so the idea for the book is that it's going to be a primer. And I'm going to check that guy out too because I love anybody that's doing something interesting.
Yeah.
The key that sets my stuff apart a little bit is I'm writing really good scripts. That's one good thing. I was always a good writer. I became a master editor because now you have 90 seconds to convey the entire Lincoln assassination. That's going to get a little
yeah.
So you try to do that. And then I got to give a shout out to Mike Harrington, who is the producer at Gas Digital that believed in this and had the idea for it.
Right.
And then Rebecca Kaplan puts edits. So I have a green screen now, and she'll pull up like photos of the people. So now you're giving the image, like you're taking everything that's interesting about the podcast, and then you're giving a little. I'm bringing in people that don't like history. That's my favorite thing right now. Because my girlfriend hates it. She finds it so boring.
Gas Digital idiots. This is the first history lesson they ever got. These guys watching not Gas Digital. The what is it? The Skankfest people. Those guys are getting. This is the first history lesson they've ever gotten.
It's they have such a bevy of talent over there where there's people that are like, oh, I know all the stuff you're talking about and I think it's great. And then somebody's like, who is Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
He had a car company, right? That's what he did.
Oh, brother. So okay. So what do you have in here? So it looks to me, it says history isn't boring. Your teacher was. And this is great because you're right. You hear things that in your adult life and you're like, wow, that's cool. But you know, they taught you that when you were a kid, but the way they presented to you was just so boring that you never kept it.
Because you had maybe 2 or 3 teachers that made you interested in whatever subject it was. So
right.
If they're good, then you're like, oh yeah, okay, math is interesting or whatever. Or if it's boring as all get out, you're like, ugh, math is the worst.
Yeah.
It's and my parents are both retired teachers, so when everybody tries to like come at me for the title on that, because that's our tagline in all the videos on Instagram. So whenever they come after me for that, I'm always like, guys, I have total sympathy for teachers. You're stuck into the confines of whatever you have to teach, but at the same time, I had some teachers that just made the material come alive.
Yeah.
They did something on a Friday where like, hey, we're actually gonna have a little mock Senate in here, and you guys are gonna have to argue on it. And I was like, you're explaining it and you're making me do it. I'm excited. I want to know about this. And then the worst part was this: the conspiracy people, who I love, I have a spot in my heart for them, but they read 90% of the story and then they make up the last 10% to fit whatever they need. So my goal with this book is I want to be a primer for people to get the real story, because the real stories are more interesting than, the lizard people.
So, well, let me tell you. So what he's talking about is you can go to the Alcatraz escape, and in 90 seconds it gives you 1 page of pictures and 1 page of a summation of the story about the Alcatraz escape, so that when it's done, if you want to know more and know the details, you can go look it up. But in the meantime, that is basically a general idea of what happened.
Yeah, I have to give it. You got to hit them with the information immediately, and then if they want to do the research on their own, it's a primer. That's really what it is.
Great topics from the J. Edgar Hoover sex tape to the Philly mob war to Nazi summer camp in Long Island. I mean, there's some interesting stuff in here.
It's all on Wikipedia. I verified everything else by outside sources, but like just going down a couple wormholes, and you're like, hang on, what? Why are we not? Why do you have to bring lizard people into this? We can just talk about the thing that happened.
Yeah. The book is called History Isn't Boring. Your Teacher Was. Mind-blowing stories from American history in 90 seconds or less by our friend KP Burke. Where is this available? Just at your shows? Can you get it online?
So I brought a couple down to the great people over at Side Splitters Wesley Chapel. I gave a couple away to some audience members. It's officially launched over on Amazon today. We're very excited about it. We self-publish. I self-fund all my own projects, so the only way that I break even is if we sell a couple of copies here. I wanted to have this out no matter what. It's been a dream of mine to be an author. And then also, if you go directly to it's kpburkecomedy.com, you can buy that and then other cool pieces of merch. We have some boxes we put together, coasters with like good quotes from Teddy Roosevelt. There's a lot to be proud of with our country. There's a lot to also say, okay, that was wrong and we shouldn't do that.
Right.
So if you can just sit there and be a little bit of a centrist when you're reading the history and not being like, I got to root for my team like it's a game. It's not a game, just accept that sometimes we do amazing things and sometimes you're like, oh, it got that bad. Whoa.
Yeah. I think we're headed there again.
It's a curious one, man. Well, the most recent election, the first episode of the show we ever did was Grover Cleveland, who until 3 days ago was the only president to ever serve non-consecutive terms.
Yeah.
And his thing was he claimed election fraud the whole time, too.
Oh, that's interesting. I never knew why. I always wonder. I hear they brought it up a lot when Trump was running again. I never knew why he took, if he was just beat or what the deal was.
He was Grover was a cool dude. One of the few presidents from Jersey, and he was very He was a Democrat, but he was very popular with Republicans. He was a bipartisan guy. Too many things were getting done, so the old guard came in there. And it was the Republicans that stole that election, by the way. They stuffed ballot boxes. They did a bunch of other stuff to him. And then Grover's wife was so badass. She goes, leave when they're getting kicked out of the White House after the first term. She goes, leave everything exactly where it was. I'll see you in 4 years.
That's great.
That's like my girl. My girl's the same way. She helped me with all the illustrations for the book, and she's ran the whole social media campaign for this. So when you find somebody, you and me have talked about it too. When you find somebody that just understands you and goes with you, it's the best feeling on planet Earth.
KP Burke's girlfriend is so hot that Bobby and I called him one night to tell him how mad we were at him and having such a hot girlfriend.
Yeah.
She is adorable, dude.
She's, you know what it is? No one assumes she's American when they see her.
Why? Like you kidnapped her?
She's pretty. She's blonde hair and blue eyed. There was like people introduce, I introduce her around. They hear a Jersey accent come out of her, and immediately, because the first guy that saw her, she's like, oh yeah, it's really bad in the Ukraine right now.
No, she's adorable. Yeah, and it's so funny. I saw your picture online, and I called Bobby one day. I go, is that really his girlfriend? And he goes, dude, it bugs me too. All right, well, that's awesome. Again, History Isn't Boring, Your Teacher Was by KP Burke. You can just go to Amazon and put in KP Burke. I'll put it up on our social medias after the show today so you can go find it. Congratulations on your book, and thank you for your service. Now, are your shows done here, or are you here today?
So the shows are done. I'm actually heading to Fort Myers. I have a show tonight. It's up in Fort Myers. I believe it's at an American Legion. It's all military comics.
Oh,
all
awesome.
veterans lineup. So
well, they hear us down there, so...
Yeah.
That's even better then. So please come on out to that, man. It's at the American Legion over there. This dude Farrow's running it. Really great guy. Worked for him last year in Naples. And then I fly out tomorrow morning.
All right. Well, great to see you. Thank you for making it in here today.
No, Mike, thank you so much, man. You mean a lot to me, dude.
Yeah, dude. I hope this does well for you, man. If you're like us and you ingest things in small amounts and you like the Cody Tucker type information stuff, you're going to love KP. Where do you see the videos, the Gas Digital stuff? You have to go to their website, or is it just on social?
They let me do all that freelance. They've been so good to me. So it's all on my Instagram. The Instagram is at KP Burke Sucks. Yes, I should change that.
Yeah.
I thought I was being funny when I started it.
Right.
But it's at KP Burke Sucks. And I put them out all the time. I've got, I think, 4 more in the bank that are being edited right now.
Okay, cool.
The first couple ones that went out, it went crazy. Rogan started following me because of them.
Oh, that's good.
Freaking, who else? UFC fighters. The punter for the Giants started following me.
Wow.
A bunch of pro wrestlers. So I found my people. I'm just terrified of all of them.
You're teaching these idiots the first history they've ever heard. All right, we got to take a break. We come back. Ian Beckles is here with us. We got to go over our football picks for the week. I got some other stuff I want to get into if we have time. Some audio I heard over the weekend that I found kind of interesting. We'll see what we got time for. It's the Mike Calta Show. We'll be back. It's 102.5 The Bone.